If you've ever tracked private jets online, you've probably noticed something strange. A huge number of private jets. Gulfstreams, Bombardiers, even the jets of foreign billionaires are all registered in Salt Lake City, Utah. Why Utah? Why not New York, Florida, or California? Why is a small regional bank in Salt Lake City listed as the official owner of aircraft worth $50 million, $70 million, sometimes over $100 million? Today, we're going deeper than any other video has ever gone. This is the full story of how a little-known financial system in Utah became the invisible backbone of global private jet ownership. From aviation loopholes to U.S. trust law to Swiss banks, foreign billionaires, and FAA secrecy. This is the story no one tells. Let's begin. To legally own an aircraft registered in the United States, the FAA requires one thing. The owner must be a U.S. citizen or a U.S. corporation controlled by U.S. citizens. But the world's private jet market doesn't work that way. Many buyers are wealthy foreigners, multinational corporations, holding companies, offshore entities, high net worth individuals with complex trust structures. And they all want the N number, the gold standard of global aviation. N numbers unlock better financing, easier insurance, smoother international airport access, and access to US-based maintenance networks. So how do non-US citizens get around the FAA citizenship requirement? Here's the loophole. They don't register the jet under their name. They register it under a U.S. trust. And that trust needs a U.S. trustee. This is where Utah comes in. The Bank of Utah is a small, regional, family-owned bank founded in 1952. Nothing flashy, no skyscraper offices, no Manhattan presence. But in the early 2000s, they discovered something powerful. There was an underserved niche in aircraft owner trusts. Big banks found aircraft trusts too small and too specialized to bother with. But the Bank of Utah leaned in. They mastered the FAA requirements, built systems, hired aviation law specialists, and suddenly became the go-to trust provider for the entire private jet industry. Today, the Bank of Utah manages over 2,000 aircraft trusts. It is one of the largest aircraft trustees in the United States. Their name appears on jets registered all over the world, even if the jet never lands in Utah. This is why you'll see jets owned by billionaires, holding companies, and foreign firms all listed under Bank of Utah Trustee, Salt Lake City, Utah. But why did the industry flock to Utah and not New York or Texas? Because of three things. Trust law is different in every state, and Utah's are flexible, creditor-friendly, privacy-protective, fast to set up. In fact, trust lawyers often list Utah as one of the top trust jurisdictions in the country, on par with Delaware, Nevada, and South Dakota. For wealthy jet owners, especially international ones, this matters. A trust jurisdiction needs to be stable and predictable, especially when the asset being protected is a $50 million Gulfstream flying internationally at 45,000 feet. Utah's trust framework is perfect for this. Beyond Utah's strong trust laws, there's another reason this system works. The FAA allows non-US citizens to use trusts as long as the trustee is American. But the rules are extremely detailed. Trustees must keep full control of the aircraft, maintain specific legal rights, file annual compliance reports, ensure the real beneficiary complies with US law, be able to step in if the beneficiary violates regulations. Most banks don't want this responsibility. It's too complex and too risky. But the Bank of Utah built its entire niche around understanding FAA trust compliance better than anyone. Here's something else, the quiet part most videos never mention. When a jet is in a trust, the FAA registry doesn't show the real owner. It only shows the trustee. This is perfectly legal. Many wealthy individuals, celebrities, billionaires, CEOs don't want the public tracking their flights. Placing the aircraft in a trust offers a layer of privacy. Not anonymity, but reduced visibility. The FAA requires documentation of the true owner, but this information is not public. This privacy protection, combined with Utah's trust laws, made Salt Lake City the unofficial capital of private jet registrations. And there's one more factor. For foreign billionaires from a politically unstable region, owning a jet through the U.S. is more than a convenience. It's political protection. A U.S. trust structure keeps the aircraft under American jurisdiction, prevents sudden foreign government seizures, stabilizes financing, ensures safety and maintenance standards.
For some foreign elites, a U.S. trust is seen as safer than registering the plane at home. Again, all legal. The U.S. structured it this way. Now let's address something that made headlines, the Russian connection. During the post-2022 sanctions environment, journalists began tracking the jets of wealthy Russians. Several of these jets were registered under the Bank of Utah because the trust system allows non-U.S. citizens to rely on an American trustee. One name that appeared was Leonid Mikhelson, a Russian gas billionaire with close ties to Vladimir Putin. Investigative reporting revealed that his jet was registered through the Bank of Utah via a complex ownership chain that went through 6 different countries before ending up in a Utah trust. The Bank of Utah clarified that it follows all U.S. law and would not do business with anyone sanctioned. They stated that Mickelson's aircraft trust had already been terminated several years ago. Important context here. Mikhelson was not sanctioned by the U.S. at the time. Aircraft ownership via a trust is legal and common worldwide. Trusts are not evidence of wrongdoing. They are simply a legal compliance mechanism for FAA rules. The Bank of Utah emphasized that they cannot discriminate against individuals who are not legally sanctioned. They must follow both FAA regulations and U.S. anti-discrimination laws. This part of the story highlights something important. The Utah aircraft trust system is so large and so embedded in global wealth networks that it occasionally intersects with geopolitical moments, even though the bank itself is just following the rules. Is Utah a flag of convenience like Panama for ships? Not exactly. Panama and Liberia are known for ship flags that reduce taxes and oversight. Utah is different. When a jet is registered in the U.S., it follows FAA safety standards. It follows U.S. law. It is more regulated, not less. So Utah isn't a cheap flag, it's a trusted flag. This is why so many international jet owners prefer the U.S. trust system. They want U.S. aviation credibility. They want the N number. They want stability, safety, and privacy. And the Bank of Utah simply became the most efficient provider of that service. Now let me share some deeper facts. Number 1. Many jets registered through Utah never land in Utah, ever. They could be operating entirely in Europe or Asia. Utah is just the trust domicile. Number 2. Some trusts are temporary. Aircraft might stay for only a few months while being delivered, financed, or transferred. Number 3. Trusts make resale easier. A plane held in trust can be quickly reassigned to a new beneficiary without complex cross-border paperwork. Number 4. Banks earn stable, low-risk fees. $1,000 to $5,000 annual aircraft trust fees may seem small, but multiply that by 2,000 plus aircraft. It's a multi-million-dollar recurring business. Number 5. Trusts protect lenders. When a jet is financed, the lender often prefers a U.S. trust structure, so collateral rules are enforceable. This financial plumbing is invisible to most people, but it's why the service exists. So why Salt Lake City? Almost by accident, it became the perfect intersection of strong, stable trust law, FAA compliance expertise, privacy, safety, regulatory credibility, geopolitical neutrality, and a bank willing to specialize in a complex niche. And once they became the dominant player, momentum took over. If you're a billionaire, a multinational corporation, or a global leasing company buying a $60 million aircraft, and all your peers use the Bank of Utah, you do too. Salt Lake City doesn't just host these registrations, it became the international hub of private jet trust management. Not New York, not D.C., not Miami. Salt Lake City. So the next time you're tracking private jets and you see Bank of Utah, Trustee, Salt Lake City, Utah, just know behind that line is a $1 trillion global aviation economy, an obscure section of federal law, a state with unusually strong trust rules, and a small regional bank that accidentally became the center of the private jet world. This is the story most people never hear. And now that you know the real story, here's the question. Should states be allowed to create ultra-friendly registration environments that attract the world's richest jet owners? Or should aircraft ownership be more transparent and uniform across the country? Let me know what you think in the comments.